Hi everyone, welcome to A Day in the Life of. It's my turn to tell you what my normal routine is most days of the week. So I get up probably about 7 o'clock. Depends, sometimes I quite like to lay in just a little bit longer. And I get my children ready for school and take them to school. School isn't that far away for them actually, it's only about 2 miles, but they like to be relaxed in the morning, so I still take them to school. I come home and normally, 3 days a week, particularly since we've been on Zoom, I've been attending the prayer meetings with Gary on a Monday and a Wednesday, but also we've had staff communion, which again, because of being in lockdown, I can actually attend, because normally I used to be going over to Hale Acorns. Most of my job since lockdown has been online, as you know. I've done so much online video editing and scheduling and posting and so on and so forth. So it's been a very different time actually from pre-lockdown. I would say that it's been a great, I can't believe actually that it's been 2.5 years since I started at Fordingbridge. I feel like it's gone so quickly, and I've loved every minute of it. I've loved meeting all the wonderful families that I've met. I've loved being involved in all the online stuff, but yes, my job from pre-lockdown to now has changed so dramatically. I can't even begin to tell you. So, but it's all been great fun, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love the fact that we can do things like I'm doing now. We're doing a video. We never would have considered doing this before, so it's actually really lovely to be able to bring this together too. I was telling you about my morning routine, so quite often I'll go on the computer and that will be the morning pretty much done. If I'm trying to study for Moorlands, I might do that instead of being on the computer for work reasons, but that's fine as well. Then quite often I really love cooking, so if I'm at home I'll quite often put the slow cooker on in the morning, so that dinner's ready for when my children need it, because they're all doing all sorts of stuff after school now, and it's really hard as a family to actually all be in the same place at the same time. So yes, I do like to do that if I'm around. And so depending on the weather, I sometimes pick my children up from school if I can, or if they don't need picking up, they'll walk home and I'll just carry on working a bit longer, or I'll be doing something housework related, no doubt. I think one of the hardest things as a mum is trying to juggle a job, children, a household and everything, a lot of the time. But I think actually nothing ever prepares you for just how much you're going to have to do. But I think that's one of the most wonderful things actually about being a parent, is through all the hard work you just have the wonderful benefit of sharing these beautiful people's lives. And that's how I very much see working for the church, is that I get this wonderful opportunity to share people's lives with them and share some of their heartache as well, and even better, share some of their joy. So yes, I pick the children up, normally we have a bit of dinner, then I'm off taking children to various places. So Sylvie does karate, Moni is doing dancing 4 times a week, so I'll quite often take her to dancing. I teach a dance class, I also do dancing. So our evenings are pretty busy. My husband is a karate instructor as well, so he he teaches within a class, but he doesn't have his own class. But he's been doing karate for a very long time, like I think it's about 40 5 years now, and he really enjoys it, and fortunately for him, so does my youngest daughter, so he's got some company when he goes over there. I'm really such a late bird. I don't like going to bed at 10. In fact, I'm recording this, I can't see the actual clock, but I think it's about midnight, because this is my favourite time of the day, when everybody's in bed and I don't have to do anything other than something that I choose to do. And quite often it might be scheduling a video, it won't be necessarily something too exciting, but I do love having this just breathing space at the end of the day when everybody's gone to bed, so it's lovely. At the weekends I'm quite often taking the children to different places. Rich normally works on a Saturday and I work on a Sunday, so pretty much like ships in the night, but you know, you do what you have to when you've got a young family. Gary said one of the things that he wanted me to talk about was my faith journey, so I talked a little bit about that with Michael on the Saturday conversation a week or so ago. But my faith journey, I've always known, I've always believed, always really believed and been assured of the fact that God is there. But a real turning point in my life was getting to know Jesus as a result of Alpha. And then I was reading this wonderful Lent book by Tom Wright, which just took you through, it was Matthew for Lent, and just took you through Matthew's version of events up to all the bits that we know very well, the whole of the Easter story and beyond. And I think this was when it just suddenly all made sense to me. This wonderful story. I never really got how Jesus fit into the whole thing until I read that book by Tom Wright, and then just suddenly it was like, I describe it a bit like, I don't know if you've seen these, what do you call them, like Meccano sets, where you get all the cogs in the right place so that the ball or whatever it is can travel down the slope. And that's how it felt like. Suddenly everything in my life had just readjusted at that point, and it all made sense. And I remember really clearly waking up on Good Friday and I didn't see the world I saw before. I saw this, I saw God's world, where everything was wonderful. And that was really strange, a really strange sensation at the time. I said to Michael a week ago, the significant change is that you've had a transformation of the heart, but you can't force it. Just suddenly there's just something so profound, and that you know that there's no going back. So that was the start of that was 2011, so 9 years ago now, and that was the start of everything now that's happened in my life, not just from doing that to leading Sunday school. I was leading Sunday school before that. I was confirmed just slightly before that as well, but all of these things just all suddenly came together, and I approached Helen Griffiths at church and I said, I think on Good Friday, because as I say, I just had everything just changed and came into focus on that particular day. So we were doing the walk of witness around Muddyford, and I said to Helen, I'd like to explore further. I just don't feel as though I know enough. And this was when I realised that I was probably saying goodbye to a career in teaching. I'd been a teacher already at that stage in 2011 for 13, 14 years. A career I absolutely loved. But I knew that this was going to be a turning point, and that was not going to be my job forever. So lots of different things happened then. I volunteered for the Red Cross for 4 years. I managed a training provision, an education provision, post-16 provision for young people who had left school with no GCSEs, and specifically no GCSEs in maths and English, so they had no hope of getting a job, and because or not just getting a job but also staying in education. So that was the turning point when the government were trying to keep young people in education up to the age of 18, and yeah, it was again one of the best times in my life. But it was a difficult time as well, because there was so much that you wanted these young people to achieve, but also when you've seen some of the desperation, and that's why I've really appreciated the thoughts for the day, you know, and hearing Heather was speaking really candidly about working with young people who have had these sorts of issues, and it's utterly heartbreaking. There's no other word for it. Trying to help young people not go down a significantly wrong path, and it's so hard to pull yourself out when you get there. It really takes the encouragement and love of other people to help you get through. I left Leo training in 2017 because I'd made a decision at that point that I wanted to study for an MA in Applied Theology at Moorlands. And that's been the most wonderful time of my life. I've met so many people from different churches, and one of the fascinating groups of people is we had a guy there who is actually a mentor for people who church plant. So they're not within any sort of recognised structure for church, if you like, and this one particular guy supports all these other churches across the country, and I was just fascinated by this work. But also, I suppose that the other wonderful thing is that we often take for granted that maybe in churches some people maybe have not had certain training, and I would say the opposite's true actually. Often people in churches are doing all of this extra stuff on top of their normal life and their normal training. So that was a real eye-opener for me, that they still hold down jobs. One thing that's been amazing is so many people have moved into new roles since they were at Moorlands. So I think being at Moorlands not only opened my eyes to other people from other churches, but just really revealed to me how interconnected we are as the body of Christ, and that we should always be working together and working for each other as well, never against each other. Anyway, the other thing that I have to tell you about is the best advice I was given. So the best advice I was given was probably from my mum, and she said, you made your bed, you lie in it. So I always had a sense of the consequences that went with some of the choices that I could have potentially made in my life. So I was really grateful for that. The advice I would give to, I think I give advice to my children all the time as a parent, but the advice I give to people is, what is your part in this? Because often I notice that we're all we find it easy to actually blame others when things go wrong. And one of the hardest things is accepting whether we can do something that we don't want to do. And this was a huge issue for my young people, because if anything went wrong, it was always someone else's fault, never theirs. But if we don't really recognise that we have choices, sometimes there are many things that are out of our control, But there are many things within our control that we sort of don't really think of as being so important. And what I wish I'd known. For me, I don't live a life with any regrets. I do wish I'd found Jesus a little bit earlier in my life, but I don't necessarily think that would have made a difference to my life choices or where I'm at now, because I do think there's so much that needs to happen in God's time, and there's so much that God's preparing you for all the way. So trying to wish something to happen sooner probably wasn't going to happen sooner in the same way. So yeah, I would say I'd wish I'd had a relationship with Jesus earlier in my life, but it didn't happen. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little insight into my life. Take care. Goodbye.